I'm very, very excited about today's show because we're going to be talking about something that I'm very passionate about, and that is body positivity. We're going to be talking about the challenges and the joys associated with the movement. But I just wanted to give you a disclaimer up front. We are going to be saying the word fat a lot on today's episode. And that's because many people, many women who are part of the body positivity community have reclaimed this word. They no longer see it as an insult, but a way to describe themselves and a way to identify themselves. So out of respect for that and to acknowledge it, we will be using the term as well. Now, body positivity is a political and a social movement that has its roots in the fat acceptance movement of the 1960s. Now, this was a time when it was started predominantly by fat women of different colors and also disabled women. And some of the key themes associated with the movement are civil rights and equal rights for marginalized bodies, anti-fat discrimination, and also self-acceptance, radical self-love, in the face of very narrow beauty ideals. Now, even though body positivity has been around for some 50 years, there has been a resurgence in the last decade with so many plus size bloggers, celebrities, influencers, really leveraging their social media space to create a safe haven for fat women to talk, to encourage each other, and also to talk about the discrimination that they face. But interestingly, we have also seen the body positivity movement monetized by brands, thin influencers, and public figures for their own personal gain and not showing any regard for its original roots. So what I wanted to ask you ladies is, do you think that the body positivity movement has been co-opted by thin bodies, and why might the all sizes matter approach be problematic?
Well, I think that with every movement, the most palatable people that are fighting for the cause are always pushed to the forefront. And I think we can see this with the gay rights movement, when trans people have fought and died to create spaces for the community that they are now being excluded from. We can see it even in feminism, where Western issues are highlighted the most. And we can see it with Black visibility, where the lighter skinned people are the ones that are the most represented, or the ones that are the most positively represented. So to be honest, it literally comes as no surprise to me to see women who already fit to the mainstream beauty standard ideals, but are maybe 1 or 2 sizes bigger, be at the forefront of the body positivity movement. And it's frustrating to see, because obviously this was created to be a lot more radical and a lot more diverse. Obviously, I don't blame the women who are being pushed to the front, because it's not their fault. I think as a society, we have this obsession with clasping onto the status quo, and anything that deviates from it must be maintained and it must be managed. So it's upsetting to not be able to see radical self-love and radical self-acceptance. And instead we see a size 8 girl, you know, sitting up straight and having a flat stomach, and then bending over and grabbing on some tutu rolls. So
it's true. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Because I've seen it, and I'm just like, We've all seen it. And I do believe that everyone can have self-esteem issues. Everyone can have an issue with their body, no matter what the size is. But if you are a slim person, it doesn't matter whether or not you feel good about your body, because whether you do or not, it doesn't change the fact that your body is socially accepted. And that's what I find issue with. So
I see, I'm taking in what you're saying, and then I'm thinking about what I'm thinking. And the reason why I say that is because I've seen that hashtag body positivity, that whole tag, is usually with slimmer people, or, you know, fitness people, and maybe it's a bit of a bizarre, it's pretty bizarre that now they've kind of taken over that hashtag and they're using it. But I originally never knew what the origins of that hashtag was. I just thought it was people just saying like, look, I love my body, and, you know, all that kind of good stuff, which, you know, is good. But when I found out, obviously, where its origins came from, then it kind of like, I almost had to like, I don't have to say like check myself, but almost check myself in the sense of, it was like, okay, so this is where it started, but these are all the people I now see using it. And I actually don't even see the original people that this was from actually using the hashtag. And then it made me have like a conversation with myself, like, okay, well, do I have a problem with it? And me even thinking like, do I have a problem with that, is me also recognizing my own privilege. Like, I'm going to be 100% honest in that, because I've always been a petite stature my whole life. So my body type has always been kind of like socially accepted. So I was kind of like, well, okay, but if people feel good in their body, slim, you know, bigger, whatever, like, shouldn't they be able to express that? And then the more that I read about it, it was like, well, maybe they can express that, but they don't have to use that specific hashtag because of the origins of where it came from. Like, I'm sure there's, like, you can make up 100 hashtags a day. I'm pretty sure you could make up your own. But what I found interesting was that a lot of people in the community who started the whole body positivity, who kind of started in it, like bloggers and stuff, have now gone to another phrase called body neutrality, something like that. And it's the whole idea basically of, well, one, the whole body positivity community is kind of like over saturated with people who it wasn't even created for, and secondly because they feel like saying body positivity is now complex in regards to how they feel about their bodies. Because what I thought was interesting is one of the bloggers said basically that she prefers body neutrality because she thinks it's easier to say to herself that I'm at peace with my body rather than I love my body, because when often she's felt like her body has betrayed her. And I just thought that was like an interesting perspective, because I've never even thought that way. And then I was kind of like, well, is this everybody else's fault that we pushed people out of their own community of body positivity to the point where now they have to say body neutrality, to the point where they're even saying, okay, I'm not even going to say I love myself now, I'm just at peace with myself? But is there something wrong with them saying they're at peace with themselves? Sorry, I'm just like a clock ticking. I'm just thinking about it. Sorry, somebody jump in and stop this boat emotion, please.
Okay, so what I was going to say is that body neutrality is kind of something a little bit different, because there's people who talk about radical self-love and like, I love myself, I accept myself, but there are some people who are like, I don't actually love myself and I don't feel that way about myself all the time. Like, I have a complex relationship with my body. That might be due to trauma. Maybe you've experienced sexual trauma. Maybe you've had an eating disorder or something like that, and you don't look at your body with love. So there are certain people who are part of the movement who said they are body neutral, which means that I am trying to be like, this is my body. I respect it. It works. It uplifts me. I understand that, and I'm neutral. I'm not at the place where I can love it yet. So I just have to be at peace with the body that I'm in. Yeah. So it's not, I wouldn't say in that specific sense, it's something that people feel kicked out of, but I understand. And I think it's like being black to a certain extent, is that there are so many subgenres. Like when we talk about being black and someone's kind of like, oh, but why are you called mixed race if you're black? You're like, it's deeper than that. Like within the community, there's subgenres and there's different things going on. And I think it's the same with body positivity. And I think one of my biggest issues that I have is that I think something that you were saying, Anissa, that I wanted to address was that, yes, people of all sizes can be body confident. And they should be. And I think every woman, no matter their size, has probably felt at some time that I'm not okay, I'm not accepted, or questioned themselves or compared themselves. Even if they love themselves, there might be a time where they compare. So everyone should feel confident in their body. But body positivity specifically is political. These were women who were saying, why do I have to put 2 seats on a plane if I'm one person? Why should I feel bad when I go to a restaurant and I can't fit on a stool and I feel a certain way? Why aren't stools made for everybody? Like, it's political. Like, we should be treated the same as slim sized people. And when you have people throwing around the term, and thin people, I'm gonna say that people, and when I say thin, I mean people who are straight size, who can fit into regular clothes on the high street. When they are throwing about the terms of body positivity, what it does is make us not even understand what the term is, and therefore we're not giving people in the community the respect and the allyship that they deserve.
Yeah, I feel
I'm
that.
learning. Yeah,
There was something interesting in terms of what you said, Anissa. There was something interesting that I read about a woman who was trying to be an ally to the fat community. And she spoke about because like Sophie said, I do agree that everyone should be able to be body confident. But you have to think as a thin person, when you're putting this on the internet, you are exposing it to everyone. So you can be, I think she said something along the lines of, just like when a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, a triumph is still a triumph, even if no one's around to like it. So you can acknowledge yourself, you can acknowledge your growth, and it doesn't need to go on Instagram, because when you put it out there, then you're kind of stepping on the toes of the people who the movement was created for. And that's why people are finding it so ridiculous. Like I saw something on Twitter the other day where it was a very thin girl, and she was like, this is me from one side, the sun's behind me, so I'm backlit, and here's me on the other side of the room, you can see a little bit of cellulite. And we were like, and one fat girl quote tweeted it, and she was like, skinny people, I really need you to get over yourself. And this
oh my God.
This is what we're putting out there. So we need to think about who, because we think, okay, this is our circle, this is just like my friends and my family who follow me on Twitter or follow me on Instagram or whatever, but you're exposing it to the world. As soon as it goes into the internet, it's exposed to everyone. So I think we just need to be more mindful of the words that we're using, and the pictures that are attached to them as well, because sometimes it sounds a bit ridiculous.
Do you know what? Yes, you're right, because I've honestly seen this whole body positivity movement, it has been eclipsed by the whole like thinner, fitter like people, because that is who I've seen. I didn't even realise its origins. And I think brands have kind of bandwagoned onto it as well. Yeah. And they've kind of like, they've used it to push another product or push more products, but they're doing it again with people that they would usually use to like push their product. But they're kind of just saying, but we're doing it for everyone, but it's really just for the same people that you were targeting before. And I think now we have to push back on brands and be like, this isn't body positivity. Like, I really believe there's a power in Twitter, whether it's used for good or bad, you know, who knows. But I think whenever there is a collective voice or people just saying, hey, this is not cool, it does really wake up those brands, because we get that direct interaction. And I think we as consumers need to say, okay, this isn't body positivity, and why are you using this to sell whatever it is that you're trying to sell? I feel like I'm just even speaking to myself a bit.
I actually want to come on to that, because I think we do need to speak up, and there do need to be various voices. And like, specifically talking about brands and what you're saying, it makes me think of, and I don't know if you ladies saw it, Maya Jama and the whole Adidas campaign. And it was talking about body positivity, and she was like, love yourself at any size. So it's Maya Jama, the famous radio DJ, who I really, really respect her work and her work ethic. And she was the face, or is the face, of Adidas's swimsuit new collection
range, something like
loving yourself. And there was a lot of backlash online, and I agreed with it, because I'm like, Maya, I think we need to take several sits downs, because I don't think that this one is for you. Like,
she's literally gorgeous.
She's beautiful.
Her body's not only accepted, but it's desired, right?
Yeah, this is completely accepted. She's, in terms of what the world sees as beautiful, she's cut in the right place. You can see me making her figure eight. Like, she's I literally, if you're listening on the podcast, I'm making a figure eight with my fingers. She literally has the figure eight. She's nicely shaped.
She's got that Jessica Rabbit, like.
Yeah, she has that, as 50 Cent would call it, that exotic look. Like, she's racially ambiguous. She's slim size. She can fit into clothes. She's extremely attractive. And to put somebody like that and say, love yourself, you're like, well, she fits into what the world would want anyway. Why didn't you use this opportunity to highlight somebody who isn't conventionally fitting the aesthetic of beautiful or good looking or attractive, and then say, actually, let's really talk about loving yourself at any size? And what I saw online, which was really interesting, is that Adidas's swimsuit lines don't even cater to more than like 2+ sizes, and they're like, they don't even stock in all sizes. So
wow,
what are we even talking about here?
Wow. I think that's exactly what I was talking about when I said we need to be careful about the language that we're using, because someone like Maya Jama, like I said, she has that Jessica Rabbit figure. Like, she has a very desirable look in all senses, in terms of facial features, skin color, and body type. So I understand why people were like, how is this? You could have just had the campaign. It didn't need to then move into the body positivity movement, because it could have just existed and been successful as a standalone campaign. because like you said, Sophie, you're talking, obviously there's different layers to it. There's different subgenres. Maya Jama, if she was in high fashion, wouldn't be treated the same as other women who would be a lot thinner than her. But what you said, Sophie, I think people need to pay attention to is if you can walk into a shop on the high street and find something that fits, you have slim privilege. And then we need to look at how we're not stepping on the toes of people who don't, and how we need to be allies instead of speaking over people, when it's really, like you said, our time to just step back and maybe listen a little bit more. But I think in terms of brands, it's really interesting to me to see the shift, because I don't know, do you guys know Giacomo?
No.
Do you know Giacomo?
Name, yeah.
Okay. So Giacomo is a clothing brand, and it actually advertises itself as being for bigger men. So their clothes go from, it starts at a medium and it goes to a 5XL. And the first time I saw the brand advertised was in 2011, and it stayed in my mind this long, because I had never seen on the television a brand advertise, not only advertise and include bigger men in the commercial, but outwardly say that we are a brand for bigger men. I don't think I've ever seen something like that, and I don't think I've ever seen something like that since. Fast forward to Big 2020, I saw an advertisement of Giacomo, and it was called like Summer Has Fallen or something like that. And I didn't know that it was advertising for Giacomo until it ended and the big name came on the screen. But I kid you not, this advertisement could be mistaken for like Boohoo Man, or just any regular, seriously, any regular clothing brand. The man in it was very tall, very classically handsome, muscly. There was nothing large about him. So to go from 2011 and me literally looking at an advertisement and seeing men that you'd find down the pub with very regular, very relatable sizes that you don't really see on television, and it's sticking in my mind because I remembered it as something that stood out because it's not common, and then go to 2020 and we have something that can just slot into everything else. So I think sometimes when brands expand, there's more opportunity for wider marketing. But when you're putting together a larger advertising campaign, you have more heads in the boardroom and more people with positions of power who can alternate the way that your brand is going to be presented to people. And sometimes the people who have created the business want to get their bag, and maybe they'll take a step back from the ideals that made them create this in the first place, just because they know that while it's going to sell.
Yeah, and I want to say, even on that, even when you do see fat models, plus size models, a lot of them are still very much fitting into a similar aesthetic that we see in smaller sizes, but just kind of upscaled. So a lot of the women are still lighter skinned. A lot of the women are still hourglass figured, and they're at the cusp of being outside of the high street. So a 16 or an 18, you're not, and they're like I said, hourglass figure. You're not seeing dark-skinned women who are size 24, who are apple-shaped. So there is still a lot of bias. And I just want to say, in terms of like the all sizes matters, I think it's just foolishness. Some spaces just aren't for you. If you're straight size, you have the whole world. You have the whole world. Like, leave them to it. It's like when we say all lives matters with Black Lives Matter. You're like, we're not saying that all lives don't matter. We're just saying right now, because Black people are getting a lot of stick, and they have been for centuries, their lives need to be seen to matter. And it's the same with all sizes matters. Let fat people just have their lane and have their own community, and you just find something else.
Yeah.